All right. So we're gonna skip a couple things. We're skipping that. Well, so we're doing why we're here. So why we're here, we want to go over, oh, hey, what up? So we want to go over cultural solidarity. So last class, for those that were here last class, we went over cultural competency and cultural humility, right? So in the first, and if you notice, you should be able to connect the dots. All of the classes of this course are supposed to be holistic. So first thing we go over perception and worldview, right? But we didn't want to end that class with like, oh, everyone has their own way of thinking, so everyone is right in their own way. No, the reason we went over that is because now, if everyone has their own perception for FitSum project, these are principles, these are expectations. If you're going to be in these spaces, these are what we expect your worldview to be. And then after that, um, wow, I'm blanking. Yeah, conflict resolution. How do we handle conflict within these spaces? Okay, and then so because in order to move forward, we're treating this just like I do my high school students, where I'm like, okay, we're setting up the classroom environment and we're setting up the rules. Now, how do we handle conflict within these spaces? Then after that, now how are we empathetic to people that might be different than us, right? How, without being performative, without being inconsiderate, how do we do that? So we went over cultural competency. Now, this class, we're going over how should we care about, why should we care about other cultures with cultural solidarity? So if you're Mexican and and like, for example, I'm using that as an example because I'm Mexican, and like with the situations going on with ICE and all that, why should I care about Palestine? What's going on in Palestine? This is the class that's meant to like build that bridge of why we should care and why that matters. Okay, so because initially we do have biases. We have something called implicit biases. Does anyone know what implicit bias is? Off the bat. I mean, yeah, you're a professional. You know, what's up?
Biases that we all have because when we're raised from our family, they are just biases that we're kind of like grown up with, but they don't have to stay with us. As you get older, it's just like you recognize them.
Okay. Good. Kayla?
I think just to add on, not just from our families, but in just being raised in this country, in this education system, and the entertainment and propaganda that's just put into our brains. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You want to add your input, Maida? You kind of had your hand up. No, okay. All right, so we want to tackle those implicit biases as well. We want to tackle those stereotypes that we may have or those initial reactions we may have. That's kind of
Alejandro. Oh no.
to acknowledge that it's there and then how like kind of correcting ourselves constantly. And for example, do you want to share like Arab and Muslim stuff?
Yeah, so okay. Here's kind of my big question. Do you believe that the majority of Muslims in America are Arab? Just like raise your hand if you think that's true. Keep them down if you don't think it's true. So would you say like half or roughly? A lot of people generally, I think we're a fairly informed group, but on average, most people think they are one and the same. Most Muslims in America are, I believe, South Asian, and then most Arabs in America are Christian dominated. That does not mean there's not Arab Muslims for sure. But most of them, because of the immigration laws and how they wanted to do racism, tried to do it based on a religion-based acceptance. And I think that's one of the things that, depending where you are, I see it worse the East Coast. They just smush it into one, be like, this is one group when it's like 40, like maybe half the countries in the world it can vary over. So that's kind of an implicit bias where if you don't know, you're just like, oh, that one group that's bugging me, when you're actually being propagandized to hate like 50. I'm trying to think of any other implicit biases.
Well, how about who knows does anyone know, are Indians Arab? No, no. We got a lot of woke people in this class. Most people don't know that.
Yeah, are Iranians Arab? people from Afghanistan. Yeah, a lot of times, the term Middle Eastern, is often just a substitute that people think of it means Arab, but it doesn't. It means actually a shifting landmark based on how the British viewed their colonial efforts. So it was Middle Eastern used to mean from like kind of Iran to maybe Pakistan, because it was the middle of the East, and then the Levant, which is Palestine, Syria, Lebanon, used to be the Near East. Well, we don't even use that term anymore. But you can kind of see how that term shifts. Does anyone know like the most updated term for people who live in, well, this perfect, like Arab lands? Okay, it is Swana, and it's Southwest Asia and North Africa. So Swana most accurately describes what we consider as Arab people or Arab land. Some people do prefer Swana because it is more land-based. It is uniquely tied to the land in the region of the world. So whatever you personally identify as, you can still be Swana because you are of that land. I don't know how new the term is, but I do feel like it is probably among the best terms. As a group, I don't think anyone is like really offended by Middle Eastern. I know I personally don't like it, but like I'm not gonna be angry at someone. But that's another way. Well, some people are very like, no, I don't want any colonial terms. Do not use that towards me. And you can even see that sometimes if people say the Arab world, which we'll talk about that later, of how they're like, could you just use one? So if you see that term, that's what it means, and it was designed to be land focused.
Sweet. Real quick, so I noticed some people writing down notes and stuff like that. Those will be useful. Your notes will be useful to you in a future activity in like an hour or so. Just a heads up on that. So part we're going over here today, we have these books that you could take photos of and like reference because our taxes as people in the United States, our taxes pay for occupying several places around the world, even if it's not like official, because that's where that number jumps from like 49 military bases to other countries to like 80-ish, right? When you look it up, you get two different responses, and that's because it is very like wishy-washy on like what's official, what's not. Do we count that? Do we not count that? And again, if we go back to, it depends who you ask, right? So, but in this specific book, I wanted to reference how to hide an empire. So, in How to Hide an Empire, how many of you have seen this book, read this book? Not read this book. No?
I haven't read it, but I've seen it.
At the house. And then, so with this book, this goes over different places that we are occupying. Puerto Rico, Guam, just like on the book goes over way more that's on the cover, but this is good references. Right now, I'm not going to talk too much about it because we have the rest of the class. But even in my personal experience, how many of you feel very confident about your knowledge about Mexican history? Kind of wishy-washy and stuff like that. So part of the reason why we should care and that we're going to go over in a later activity, we're going to go over how cultural solidarity has happened historically as well. We're going to go over, if you're not familiar, like Irish and Native Americans connections. We're going to go over Japan doesn't technically count as a colony, but like, what do we call a colony and stuff like that. And we're going to go over Hawaiian and then their solidarity with others. We're going to go over a lot in those. There's going to be a lot of information presented in this class today. But when it comes to specifically Mexican, I'm using that example because I am Mexican. We also want to understand how it affects us on a personal level. So if we understand, brief, I'm going to be as quick as possible. I'm going to try to make this like 2 minutes, okay? So obviously, like Columbus comes, Spain comes, they conquer Mexico. And then it turns into New Spain. And then they revolt and then they kick out New Spain. But then France comes and then they also try to take over and they're like, no, get out of here. And then now, so New Spain has all this land. And it's like, so New Spain / Mexico has all this land. And then Texas is here. And Texas is like, so Texas is very sparse in population. So Mexico is like, we want to fill this with population. Let's invite Americans to come and rent this land. And so they come and they rent this land, but Americans wanted to bring slaves. And in Mexico, slaves were illegal. So you can't do that. You got to come, no slaves, and you got to learn Spanish. And obviously the settlers were like, huh, screw that. I ain't speaking no damn Spanish. And then, and I'm bringing my slaves. And so that's where Texas was just like, we're going to become independent. We don't want to be American. We don't want to be Mexican. So a lot of stuff, I'm from Texas. And in Texas, there was a lot of like, remember the Alamo and stuff like that. And then I didn't know anything about it. I'm a kid. And I'm like, yeah, sure. Remember the Alamo, this battle that happened or whatever. It was like, wait, what was the battle about? Oh, keeping slaves. Okay. And that's part of the history that doesn't get mentioned. So that part gets erased. So I'm supposed to be proud to be Texas, right? Everything's bigger in Texas. And it's like, that's not true. But, and stuff like that. So fast forward, America, so the president, James Polk, goes and tries to, there's like this disputed area of Texas. Texas claims they're independent. Mexico thinks, no, that's Mexico. United States like, no, that belongs to us. So James Polk goes and sends some people to kind of mess with Mexico to initiate a war. And then America comes, punks Mexico, takes half of Mexico. And after that, oh, another part of it is too, America could have taken all of Mexico. And they decided not to because they were like, we don't want that many brown people being American. Like straight up, that was one of the arguments. Like we could take those over, but we want America to be mostly white. So fast forward that, later on, Rose will be talking about the Spanish caste system, which will connect to what I'm talking about right now. So there's all of this history, and around there, I was raised, part of what I'm sharing this is because I was raised with parents that were kind of embarrassed, that have internalized racism. Because when we moved to Vegas, they knew that the East Side was where a lot of us were. But they were like, we don't want to go over there. We want you to be educated, formalized. Let's go to Summerlin. It doesn't matter if we can't afford it. We're going to find a way. We want you around the good kids. Right? And then when I'm analyzing the situation, I'm like, what could have happened that made my parents feel this way? Especially like before my grandma passed away, then I start learning, oh, she's from this pueblo called Ricardo Flores Magon. And before my grandma passed away, she was telling me, oh, yeah, Ricardo Flores Magon, he was this revolutionary who helped in the Mexican Revolution. In my mind, since I didn't know history, I'm like, the one for independence? And apparently there was another revolution in the 1910s. And then I'm learning about like the caste system and how that affected that revolution that happened in the 1910s with a lot of like leftist organizers. Ricardo Flores Magon was an anarcho-communist, and I managed to find his book and I have it. I should have brought that one. But I have that one called Land and Liberty, and I'm learning about this and my grandma's telling me about it. And I'm like, Grandma, why have we never had a conversation like this? And she's like, well, your grandpa wouldn't let me. And then I started reflecting on the entire dynamic of their relationship. They were together for over 70 years. And yet it didn't occur to me, like, I never heard my grandma's voice, really, her identity until my grandpa passed away, that my grandma felt the need to be like, I can share myself now. And then considering that patriarchy, considering that now I have to reflect on myself, and then realizing how my dad is, because that was my grandparents under my dad's side. So that's the patriarch of my family. And so now I have to analyze like how much empire colonization has influenced my family. And now I have to think about the way I think about things like, well, am I a douchebag? Like, am I like, and do I have to think about things like, because now I'm like, because I never thought my grandpa was a douche until grandma, like I was at a family dinner and then people were asking my grandma like, oh, like, do you miss grandpa? Don't you miss talking to him? And she straight up jokingly was like, nope. Like, she's like, no. And I'm just like, God damn, like, okay. I was like, okay, a lot to unpack here. And then and again, just having these conversations with my parents and then knowing my grandma, she was way more connected to her indigenous side than even my father, to my grandpa or my father, that part is completely like, and now that she passed away, I never got to engage in a deeper conversation because I was already so late into her life. And me living here, and I can only have those conversations with her when I go visit, right? That's erasure. And then I'm bringing up this story because once we go over more, we're going to hear Alan's story. We're going to hear Rose's perspective. And we're about to hear other people's perspectives as well. Etzli and Ahmed from Gaza will be speaking. And we're going to see how our stories are extremely similar. And that's something to keep in mind, even if they're not exactly the same, right? They are similar, and that's where the solidarity has to come in. All right. Are you ready, Etzli? Oh, yeah, okay. 1 minute, 1 minute. Okay. Yeah, sure.
I thought of it too. A lot of times I see when they talk about Palestine, the argument is you should care about Palestine because it will then happen to you here in America. And I think that is functionally true, but I don't think it fully captures the right moral or the right reality of it. You should care about Palestine or any of these colonized lands in a part because it is you in a way, because while all the stories are kind of similar personally, you should see a group that's happening to and almost bring your life experience, not, publicly, but within yourself, be like, that is kind of me too, because their sexism was given to them by the British, just like our cultural sexism was, or their homophobia was given to them by the British. A quick example of the word queer, it was used in the Oscar Wilde case. And at the time, the word queer just means strange. It's meant kind of casually odd. But since America at that time didn't have the word queer, they adopted it almost like a slur. So it became a slur in America, but not in the UK, even though it was used in the court trial against them. And that's sort of shows the interconnectivity of, even if it's happening there, it's kind of happening now because we're all interconnected linguistically or socially, stuff like that. So that's why I always feel like you should care because it'll happen to you next. Fall short. You should care because it's happening to someone, probably just like you. Good time wise?
Mary, you did this, and I don't know what this means.
Typing.
Comments? Oh, yeah, I brought them. Do I give them out now? Okay, so we do have these brochures that we're going to hand out. This next section, we're going to further explain cultural humility. These pamphlets are also meant to help out as a resource for cultural humility. These are for you to keep. You could take these with you. Thank you, Christina. If Etzli, are you
We're
unmuted?
ready. Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, give me a sec. I gotta put it on the Bluetooth. It was connected, but this is not audio. I tested it, but I guess Zoom changes the audio setting. Sorry, everyone. uh, Audio. There we go. Try now, Etzli, say hi.
Hello.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna
Alright.
boost the volume. Try again.
Hello, hello, hello.
Excellent. I'm gonna make that a little louder.
It's
One more time.
it's echoing.
Ooh.
Just mute that.
Oh, mute.
Hello, hello. Okay, that's good. but then I can't hear what he's saying. Okay. I couldn't hear what you were saying because you muted. All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining this class. For those that were here, 2 weeks ago, we went over cultural humility. We're gonna kind of go over these agreements. For those that weren't here, you'll get a better understanding of what this is. We started off the first class as cultural competency, and we can kind of analyze cultural competency as being like the first step towards cultural humility. The competency part is understanding what you're getting into, whether it's a project, you're going into a discussion, you're understanding new information, presentations, whatever it might be. So competency is the very first part that you have that initial understanding. Then we get into humility, and this is almost like a code of conduct. You're agreeing to how you're coming into the space with this new information, or even in this case, with individuals that will be speaking and that you'll be understanding in the case of storytelling. So you all have the brochures or the pamphlets. We'll go through the agreements all together real quick. And the agreements are: you listen as if the speaker is wise, listen to understand, practice I statements when speaking. Everyone will get a chance to go through the discussion, ask questions, create dialogue. So practice using I statements. It's okay to respectfully disagree. We might not all agree on any certain thing, and that's fine. The respect is the key. We take risks, and we understand that there might be something that might be in our hearts or in our heads that we want to speak off of, take that risk. This is a space that we are understanding each other. We are creating the dialogue. We use words like dialogue instead of discussion. Feel no pressure to speak and resist the temptation to only witness the dialogue. So going to the same thing, step back, step up, step back. So you're being very reciprocal and intentional in the dialogue you're creating. Do not engage in blaming and shaming. And, we try not to do that. I mean, there's some people that should be shamed. I'm just gonna leave it there. But, Zionists, maybe, I don't know. But this example is when we were talking about maybe like our stories. Alejandro brought up a good testimony, his story. And maybe like in that instance, we're talking about someone that we might have this kind of internal resentment towards, whether it be our family or someone in our circles. We try not to practice shaming. Commitment to confidentiality in stories that are shared. Ahmed is our guest today, and he will be storytelling and sharing. So we want him to know that we have his confidence, or that he has our confidence. We use courage to interrupt if someone is going to amiss or something is being left unsaid. Use oops and ouch instead of feeling like you have to kind of like pause and break and remove yourself. You don't be afraid to, retract something you might not have meant to said. Voices, thoughts, ideas, experiences are always welcome. Be committed to each other's development. And that is probably the biggest one. We're all learning here. And that is like the main principle of cultural humility. And one of the other sides of the pamphlet, it kind of goes over these 4 principles. So a lifelong process of critical self-reflection and self-critique. So cultural humility, it's not necessarily a skill. It is like a guide of principles, and this is something ongoing. Every time that we use cultural humility in the spaces, we're learning something new. There's always room for development. Readdressing the power imbalances in client-provider dynamics. Cultural humility was really like developed and created for providers and for their networks to understand how to better serve community and understand the cultural barriers and challenges that might come with that. And so it's gone from provider to patient or client to more of an organizing space. And so we're trying to really implement this and take this as a guiding principle. When we enter spaces, we are self-reflecting, we're sharing, and we're building trust. Again, we want to make sure that everyone is using confidentiality. A lot of things that are said here are with the consent to share out openly, but we just want to be mindful of maybe things that are more heavy or sensitive. Developing mutually beneficial, non-paternalistic partnerships with those we serve, and then advocating and maintaining institutional accountability that parallels the above. Again, these are the original principles and agreements that were made and developed by the providers. So we're kind of turning this more into organizing principles when we go into projects, when we go into these discussions and these classes. So in this case, when we're talking to different people, we're approaching different folks with different backgrounds that have different stories. We're being respectful, and we're understanding that no culture or person is a monolith. There is no monolithic identity with everyone's stories. Everyone is a human being. Everyone carries their own truth, their own pain, their own experiences. And so we keep that in our minds and in our hearts when we listen, and we actually use this in our practice. And with all these agreements and everything said, we will be practicing it today, especially right now when Ahmed from Gaza City shares some of his poetry and some words. Most of this time will be given to him. I just want to make sure that we're all on this same page, this good understanding of what culture humility is, why these classes this month is important, especially with our own experience with Native American Heritage Month and having specific holidays or acknowledgements that only last a month. That's, not the sincerest or most intentional way of I guess practicing solidarity. So this is where we practice our ways of understanding truths, storytelling, and the cultural humility. So we have, again, Ahmed he lives in Gaza City. He will tell his story. He was living in Sudan for quite a long time. He has a lot of knowledge, direct experience being in Gaza. He's very, very creative, artistic. I think y'all will enjoy his poems. And then after his presentation, we're going to go into an activity where we'll all kind of sit up in stations, and Ahmed will be one of the facilitators for that activity. So I will pass it to you now, Ahmed.
Thank you so much, Leslie. And thank you for having me for this special class and for trusting my capabilities to portray the image and how we are all connected. My name is Ahmed Sarsour. I am originally Palestinian, but I have been living in Sudan for 21 years. We went to Sudan seeking a decent life there because, being in Gaza, there's no any decent form of living here. So my dad, he was seeking a better life for us, and this is why he chose Sudan. He was studying there, and he started working there. And then me, my mom, and my brothers and sisters moved there with him. We stayed there for 21 years. We built ourselves an amazing life there. We used to have our jobs, our friends, and everything. And we were forced to leave everything behind because of a similar aggression that's happening here in Gaza, and it's all connected. So the 15th of April for 2023, the what's so proclaimed civil war happened in Sudan. They are claiming to be a civil war, but it's not. It is actually funded by the US and Israel with aid of the UAE. They are stealing the resources of the Sudanese people. and they are targeting these resources and funds into the war machine that they are killing us with. I arrived here in Gaza on the 1st of June of 2023, and 4 months later, the 7th of October happened, and I got caught up in this ongoing genocide because they tell that there's a ceasefire, but actually the ceasefire is never lasting. Like today and yesterday, they already bombed some areas and they killed up to 30 civilians. And they say this is a ceasefire, but they keep on saying that we are breaching the ceasefire, which is not the case, but they just are looking for excuses to do that. And for the class that we are talking about here today and discussing and having the dialogue about the land that your tax money occupy, Israel wouldn't have lasted for this long if it weren't for the US and the other EU countries members that are funding it with money, military weapons, and all kind of resources. And we have witnessed a ceasefire before, like when they announced the truth in the first of in the last days of last January this year, but then they breached the ceasefire on the 18th of March of 2025. I remember I wrote a poem that day, on the same day that they breached the ceasefire, and I named it True Colors. I was so angry because it is not just Israel that were killing us, but it is the whole world. The US, the Trump administration. I saw that how he backed up Israel, and he even tried to give them pardon from the International Injustice of Court. And it was so awful that even Arab leaders didn't speak and didn't care, and they couldn't do anything because they are thinking that Israel is the one with the power, but it's not. It is the people, and US is failing its people, and Trump administration as well, with all of the ICE raids and everything that he's doing. The US and other nations are facing the same discrimination and same aggression, similar to the one that we are facing here, and it's being funded by it's being funded by the tax money that the US citizens are paying, and most of them they didn't even know that this money was going to such causes. I also wrote another poem that I called it Crocodile Tears, and at that time I remember there was floods and fires in Los Angeles, and I remember that I was in touch with some of my friends, and they told me that Trump administration, they already withdraw some funds from the firefighting department. They said it's not necessarily. And after that, I remember me calling them to check out in them, and they told me that there's bodies of people and animal that is still hanging on the trees, and no one has come to get them down. And it was so awful because at the same time there was these attacks on us here in Gaza, and there was a similar fire, but this one was man-made by Israel in Jabalia camp. So the irony in that, taking the money from the people and not even giving the money to a good cause, like risking your own people and helping them, and then attacking us and saying that we are not worthy. It wasn't a good feeling at all. So I wanted to share with you these two poems that I wrote. The one that I mentioned, True Colors, that I wrote it on the day that they preached the ceasefire, on the 18th of March of 2025. And I am so, I hope that I am not calling anyone out by reciting this poem, because there's so aggression in this poem, because I was so angry. And I remember that I was cursing at the world and everyone, because when the ceasefire was preached, no one stopped it. Even Trump and his administration, they just backed it up, and I was so angry even at the US citizens. And I think I called everyone pious about that. And I called out the Arab leaders as well, and also everyone who was stealing money in our names, like saying that they are going to help us and send us aid, but instead they were like getting the money to themselves. So I hope you excuse me if this poem is a little bit harsh, but I think it's necessary. True colors. My body shivers. My voice is rumbling. My eyes tear, and my hope is crumbling. The nightmares are back, figuratively and literally, for you were there to back up that rotices they called back. Your silence disgusts me. Your complicity makes me sick. The Trump administration should burn in hell. Their clocks should tick. No need to pretend they weren't aware of this Zion's contract. Your true colors have shown, back to the slaughter and killing of innocent women, kids, and infants who just leaped into living. More than 400 souls in less than a day, while claiming seeking humane solutions every day. Yet you approved our destruction, as if we were made of clay. You threaten us and ask us to obey. You bomb us because you say we didn't obey. Then you go back and back and back. You keep on launching full attack, a maniacal attack, to force the negotiations already set on the table to come back. Are you hearing yourselves? You elitist supremacist scumbag? I hope you are okay, the Arab leaders who did obey. Hope you are happy. The ceasefire is breached, the genocide is back in play. And you opportunistic, beneficial, pragmatic advocates, you take our suffering and profit off of it, raising money in our name, claiming you would help us, then turn your back on us. You soulless scammers, bloodless profiteers, you disgust me like the ones who murdered us. I hate you just the same. Back to the horror show, to the scarcity of sheets that cover our departed souls. Back to the sleepless nights, filled with anxiety all again, to feeling the helpless and the pain under their terror reign, to pray every night to survive their fire rain. Our loved ones await us on the other side. Our sorrows will be demised. You will be all right. There in the heavens, Allah will treat us right. Grant us a heaven so bright. So don't you dare raise your slogans. Don't you dare say you worth more than you show us. Don't you say freedom for all or advocate for the free speech toll. You are rotting from within, from Democrat parties to Republican. Your hypocrisy shows. You two-faced snake tails looming us all. We see you for who you are. Just a fucked up tyrannic state, afraid of its fall. The end. And you can see on that day, they killed 400 people in less than a day when the ceasefire was breached. And I mentioned on the poem that we have more faith in Allah than in the people. And I know that there is this stereotype about Muslims that we are all rooting for war and we just we justify the killing of innocent people, but this is not the case. Actually, like, Islam is a very beautiful religion. And I was talking to Isli the other day, and we were talking about this class, and we mentioned the tax money. And then I remember I mentioned what, of course, you know what Billie Eilish said last time when she talked about billionaires, and she said, why you are a billionaire, give your money away. And I mentioned this to Isli that in our religion, in Islam, it is being advised and encouraged to give your money away, especially for the rich people. We have this thing that is called zakat. It is kind of a mandatory donations that you need to give every year. when your money reach the nisab. The nisab is an Arabic word which means when it reach a certain amount that you need to give some of your money away, and the percentage is 2.5 of the whole amount of your money. So I told her that, and this is actually for making a social justice and for giving the poor and make the community more feeling a solidarity all together with each other. And you know, in the US, they leave the rich people eat the poor. They let them do everything that they want and without any complications and without anyone to blame them or like throw any accusations against them. And when someone speak up about this, they will just tear you down and like you will disappear. This is exactly what is happening from the Trump administration when he put Elon Musk into the government, and he ended up ruining everything and taking jobs from people who actually need it. And after all of that, when he couldn't do anything and ruining everything, he just resigned. It was so, I'm so sorry for the word, but so stupid and meaningless. And I don't know why he keeps doing such decisions. This is exactly similar to the next poem that I'm going to recite, the Crocodile Tears, because I remember there's this actor that is called James Woods. He was so advocate for Israel. He's a big Zionist, and he was calling for the killing of all of us, like women, men, children, elderly, everyone here in Gaza. And when the Los Angeles fires happened, he had a house there. He has a house there. I think it is worth $4 million or $4 billion or something. And he went on the channel news and he was crying and asking people to donate to him money so he can rebuild. Imagine the irony. And at the same time, he was encouraging people. He was encouraging Israel to kill us and encouraging other people to not give us money or donations to help us build, to help us rebuild. And I remember there's other actors and actresses also went to the Met Gala. I think an area time that year, around May or something, and the table it was worth like 70K per seat, and with the table like you will pay like 100K or something, and exactly that amount like 70,000 US dollars. That was the amount that I needed for me and my family to get out of Gaza to pay for the exit permit. And it for them it was so easy that they will give to just attend that concert that is called Met Gala. And even one of them, I remember she used the phrase that Marie Antoinette used, let them eat cake. And it was it felt surreal. Like these people, they know exactly what they are doing to us. They see what they are doing to the poor, and still they choose to taunt us and to mock us in our faces, and people are not doing anything. So yeah. The second poem, Crocodile Tears, I will recite it now. Met Gala fame looked like Hunger Game. Met Gala dresses and Met Gala shoes. How much money had been spent on these outfits and this muse? Let them eat cake, a celebrity said. What a shame. A Met Gala shame, reviving a Hunger Game, but who's to blame? A California dream with LA's modern gleam. A weather forecast that was never foreseen. Met Gala's heroes, representatives of Hollywood. Their houses burned by a similar fire once overlooked by James Woods. No ceasefire, no compromise, no forgiveness. Those were his lines. He used them knowing a dead toll is growing, then ask you to look away, and for you, orchestrated a play. Kill them all, said filled with rage. Make them suffer, trap them in a cage, send them all back to the Stone Age. LA burning scene, a dreadful echo of Jabalia's camp scene. Hollywood's actors, tears on screen, but still, it was nothing compared to my people's scream. To the world, their tears were truthful and ours deceitful. What a world we live in, where selective empathy is a thing. California burned, ashes upon ashes. Memories destroyed as fire clashes. A big traffic jam, cars and precious belongings left behind. Running to survive, no class, no favoritism. In a perfect entangled fiery prism, with smoky curls blanketing in a vision. Wind braided the fiery flames and laid them on houses' frames. LA screams echoed into our souls. Open the wounds that keep on stall. As much as some deserve what they have lost, others can be blamed, paying the cost. The cost of the evil schemes, raising funds and sending lots of money streams to the monstrous ones, the thieves of our dreams. Gazans, humanity saved them. It never failed them. No laughs, no gloat, never witch death crawling up their throat. Our humanity remained intact as we Gazans praised the Lord to save them from nature's attack. But in 2024, Mid-Gala celebrities refused to answer the call. They attend knowing a death toll is far more growing, worshipping fake idols, praising false gods. They are complicit, making humanity diverge away from the cause. Mid-Gala season has passed. A page filled with diabolical facade. They cheered for these same forces, the one exploiting all natural resources, trying so hard changing humanity courses, bringing destruction all over the globe. They intend to steal the power of your hopes, so open your eyes, be woke. Tell Haley Bailey, Mr. Woods and their folk, they should consider eating egg cake, since they finally taste a glimpse of our heartache. The end. So I hope you enjoyed these two poems, and I hope that I wasn't too harsh on the lines that I weaved into them. And actually, that some of these lines were true. Some Gazans actually were praying for the people of LA to be saved, and I did so footages myself. And this is why I wrote some lines about some people didn't deserve what happened to them, because like all there's innocent people there, and some of the indigenous people are also living in the LA. So yeah, thank you for having me, and I hope I will see you in the sessions. So back to you, Isli.
Thank you, Ahmed. Thank you all for listening and just being present during this time. Maybe I think before we get into the next activity, which are the stations, they're going to be, I think, I don't know, Alejandro will go over that, but I think we need some grounding. That's part of cultural humility, is to make sure that we are aware and that we stay grounded in whatever it is that we speak and that we share and that we hear. So everyone kind of just take a minute to ground yourself. I don't have medicine. Alejandro, did you take any of the cedar or copal? Is he there? No? Okay. So close your eyes, ground yourselves. Take this moment to really take in what Ahmed shared. Again, cultural humility is a practice and a principle in building trust. When someone story tells, that is sacred, and we want to keep that with us. And we want to really be intentional with what we do with that information and how we take it in. So you can close your eyes, keep them open, take a minute to breathe, and then I will give it a minute, and then Alejandro will go into the activity.
Thank you so much, Ahmed, for sharing. Everyone was, I don't know if you could see, but everyone was definitely attentive, and we appreciate it. I I was kind of starting to snap back there, but I was like, oh, he can't hear me. But all right. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to do, for those that have been in this class before, another gallery walk. Every gallery walk, if you notice though, has been a bit different. Today will also be a bit different. Today we're going to do gallery walks with individuals. So there's going to be only 3 stations. Unfortunately, the 4th person that we had in mind could not show up. So there's just going to be 3 stations. So for those that are not familiar with gallery walk, it's kind of what it sounds like where you're in an art, when you're in art gallery, you walk around and you're like, oh, cool. And then if you're in groups, you're walking, you see the art, you talk about it, you share, right? Every single time we've done this, it's been a little bit different. So mostly addressing that because we got a few new faces. So every time we do this, it's a little bit different. The first time it was like QR codes and it goes to videos. The second time was just passages. Then the third time we did it where there were some images, some articles, it was a bit mixed. Now we're going to do it with people. It's going to be with Alan, with Rose, and with Ahmed. So what's going to happen is, so right now in this room, this will be Ahmed's station. Okay, so then you're gonna have, every station is gonna be 10 minutes. So one group is gonna be in here, listening to what Ahmed has to say. And then after those 10 minutes are up, we rotate. Then there's gonna be, Rose is gonna be in the other room, in this room in here. Alan will be outside in an outside group. Okay, so it's gonna take 30 minutes. Okay, so 10 minutes per station. Does that make sense? So now with groups though, since there's gonna be 3 stations, what we are going to do is, so Alan, so this group is a 3 technically, and this group is a 3 technically. So what we will do is, 3, 6, 9, so, okay, this is what we'll do. I can't math right now. So
20 people.
is it 20 people total? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 17 that are not facilitating. So we'll split that up. 17 divided by 3, 16 divided by 3. 18 divided by 3. Not a math teacher. Not a math teacher. Okay, so let's have these 2 groups be together. We'll have these 2 groups be together, and then one really small group of 3. Okay. All right. Or we could split some people up. Oh yeah, you 2. Yeah. Yeah, we're splitting you 2 up. Can you come over quickly? And then
Ever.
yeah, not forever.
No.
Okay, so Rose is going to the other room, and then Alan, just kind of make your way outside, probably to the right would be more comfortable, good stuff.
He's outside.
It's only for 10 minutes.
For sure.
Shelby.
Okay, so, this first group, go ahead and start with Rose. Then that group, go ahead and start with Alan, and then this group could stay here for Ahmed. I will be staying in the Ahmed section just to make sure any technical difficulty, just in case of any technical difficulties. Okay. I heard of something. Okay. Anyways, 10 minutes. And I'm gonna mute myself. Ahmed, you can begin whenever you're ready.
I'm gonna give another intro. So you all know everyone's station looks a little bit different. For Rose, they'll be doing something completely different from Ahmed and from Alan. So for this station, it's gonna be a dialogue session. So it'll be more of creating just like a nice communication stream of different things. That's Q&A if you had any questions from the poems he recited, just his backstory. Storytelling, if you have any connections that you want to share, anything that you have that really just stuck with you that might have even like a personal attachment, you can share that. And yeah, it'll just be an overall dialogue. So I'm gonna pass it to you, Ahmed, to kind of give another re-intro and see if there's any questions.
Okay. Hi everyone. Um, to be honest, they told me that was supposed to be a dialogue, so I thought that you all will be closer to me and they will see your faces and everything. I will get to know each other. So if you can do this, yeah, I'm so sorry. And Alejandro, they can unmute. Can you unmute so I can hear you guys as well? We will be talking.
Hopefully the echo doesn't sound too bad.
It's okay. I'm fine with it. I can't even hear it now.
Okay, cool.
So, hello again, everyone. Thank you for attending this class and for your interest in hearing about my story, and of course, for being interested in the Palestinian movement. And when Italy suggested this for me, I was so anxious, to be honest, like because like this is it felt so formal for me because I have never done anything, like I never had any social media existence 2 years ago, and I was compelled and forced to do that to rescue my family and save them. And I think I kind of feel like I failed because like we're still stuck here in Gaza, because the only reason why I joined social media, it was for to raise the funds and get them out. But the war that caught us in Sudan, it is similar to one that's happening here in Gaza, and it is being funding by the one in Sudan by UAE, and Israel is also joining that force because they also want to control the Sudan region, because they have these resources. Like there's literally a mountain that is made out of gold there in Sudan, and the resources here in Gaza. Like recently, they discovered there's gas in the Mediterranean Sea, and Israel is trying to control it as well. So they are using the intersectionality against us. They discriminate against our race, our religion, and everything. And the first thing that they started discriminating against was Islam and our background as Arabs. Although the people in Sudan are half African, half Arabs, but here in Gaza, they say that we are terrorists because we're Arabs. And I think after the September, I think the 11th of September or the 9th of September, something like this, what happened in the US and how they were sharing this propaganda against Muslims and against Arabs, and how they were trying to spread it and saying that we only like the stereotyping that they are trying to also spread by the Israeli, that we're only human animals and we don't get anything, and it's like Allahu Akbar and just destroy everyone and kill everyone. But this is not the case. We are human beings. We tear, we bleed, we laugh. We are trying to celebrate. We marry, we have kids, and we just want to live and coexist in peace with other people. But this is the image that they are trying to not show to other communities and not show to the people. And after the 7th of October, I feel like a lot of people starting to see this and to see the beauty of the I want to say that of the Arabs and the Muslims, because they felt so similar to other nations. And this is exactly what I'm trying to do here with my poetry and my art. And I'm trying to connect all the minorities and oppressed and suppressed nations. I don't write about Palestine or Gaza only. I also write about Sudan. I write about Congo. I write about the indigenous people in Canada, in Turtle Island, and the ones in the US, the abolition, and even the Kosovo, and the other Muslims all over the world who are facing oppression just because they are Muslims. So yeah, I think this is the message that I am trying to spread, which is humanity first. No one is free until we are all free, and it's just a slogan for me. I have been doing this, and it caused me to lose my my platform on TikTok. I used to have a big platform on TikTok, but since I have been trying to advocate for not just Gaza but all of the people of the world. That I caused myself to get banned not just once but twice, and on my third account I am shadow banned as well. So yeah, it's been a hell of a journey, but I am happy to be here and I'm happy with everything that I learned. But because I didn't even know that there's different indigenous people in the US, I thought there's only just the Indian people. But now I am learning and I'm trying to connect with other people, and I am learning about the struggle that Mexican people are facing and about the war that's happening in the Puerto Rico as well, and the front that are trying to build against Venezuela. So yeah, it's been a journey, and I am happy to be here with you. And I would like to know you if you have any questions for me. Please do ask. So yeah, the floor is yours. Anyone has any questions or they would like to say anything?
I'm kind of curious about something, Ahmed. So I'm originally from Ireland, and Ireland has a lot of solidarity with a lot of countries because we were also colonized very recently. And when I grew up going to Ireland, I saw a lot of Palestinian flags. Even before, the current genocide started, Ireland was very like active and present. A lot of our, organizations have ties with a lot of Palestinian organizations and stuff like that. And I was just kind of curious, like in Palestine and in Gaza, do you guys like feel a solidarity with the Irish as well? Like, is that kind of returned? Because I see it a lot in Ireland. I'm just curious if it's like present there as well.
Well, for me personally, I do feel it, and I even have friends from the Irish people, and I am in touch with them, and I used to even talk with them on a daily basis, and they even help me with spreading my poetry. But yeah, we understand and feel the solidarity that the Irish people are giving us, and we come from, I believe, like we're faced with the same aggression. So this is the type of thing that I am trying to also involve into my poetry. I'm trying to talk about other communities who faced a similar destiny, and trying to implore it, and hopefully people will see the relatively and similarly in those kind of things that we are living. But yeah, I see you, and I see your solidarity, and I do have friends of the Irish people. So thank you for everything that you do for us. And actually, I wanted to have a scholarship and get to Ireland because of the solidarity of their people, but I couldn't do it so far. But I am trying to apply next year. So pray for me for that.
Yeah, no, I will. That's good to hear. I hope you get to Ireland. That'd be awesome.
Inshallah. Thank you.
Anyone else have a
Anyone
question?
else? Well, I have a question for you if you don't have a question for me.
Oh, no, someone had a question.
I saw
think
one, yeah.
Sorry, I think you said you needed $70,000. Is that what you said to
Yeah.
like emigrate to Gaza?
Yes.
So are you guys still like trying to reach that? You and your family?
I was still trying to reach that, yes. But actually, after the Met Gala thing and what happened in May 2024, they destroyed the borders. So no one is getting out unless there's some illegal ways. And I don't feel like with my moral compass that I can do that. Some people are taking like the place of other injured people and getting out as being medically injured or something, like needing medical help. So yeah, I don't think that I can do that. But that at that time the border was open and they were asking for almost like 15 to 20K US dollars per person to get out, and we didn't have that kind of money on us because we lost everything in Sudan. And actually, we were faced with a similar destiny in Sudan as well. When we were trying to get evacuated from Sudan, we were trying to get into Egypt, but also the Egyptian authority were asking for like 5K per visa, and we didn't have that 20K on us. So it was so ironic to be faced with a similar destiny here in my hometown. So, but I am still fundraising, not just for my family. I am fundraising for my sisters because, like, they lost their houses. Their houses got destroyed in Khan Yunis. My aunties also got their houses destroyed in Khan Yunis. There's some families that I know personally that they come with us from Sudan, and they also lost everything in Sudan, and they are here suffering a similar fate like us. I don't know if Alejandro or Isley shared with you my link tree or my socials, but I have a Discord community, and I'm trying to build a team, a volunteer team. So because like I don't have any money to pay anyone, but we are trying to make all of these different projects, and we are working on. And recently, me and my community, we managed to design a booklet made out of 5 of my poems, and it's being sold nowadays in the Netherlands in an art exhibition there. And it will be until the 14th of January. And I got in touch with another font, and they will be selling it in December in an art exhibition that will last for 3 days. And I am also working on 2 documentary films. One of them is called Don't Leave Us Behind, and the other What We Fear, based on 2 of my poems that I wrote during the genocide as well. So far, I wrote 22 poems, and I'm also trying to make a big book out of my poetry, like not just the 5 poems, not just a booklet, but the 22 poems and also the other poems that I'm working on. I'm currently working on another 6 to 8 poems that I didn't edit. Like I wrote them, but I didn't edit them, but I should do that. And I did write one about Sudan. And some of those poems I mentioned Sudan, Congo, and Palestine, and other minorities. So yeah.
All right, so time is up with this station. We're gonna rotate. Thank you, Ahmed. And by the way,
Okay.
Ahmed, I will, on our online version, I will be sure to add your socials,
Okay.
so people follow.
Of course, no problem. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. See you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Ahmed,
I didn't talk about Islam. I was trying.
do you have the points with you?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. It's okay, the next one.
I'll give.
When we do the send out, the recap of the class.
I did talk about the global connection through art and identity, though.
Yeah,
Kinda, but I didn't talk about Muslim religion.
maybe start with as the intro with this group.
Okay.
But we'll have a conversation after. It's like you know.
Hold on. Over with Rose. If you were with Helen, go over with Rose. But what? And then whoever was with Rose, just show me. Yeah. Y'all had a small group?
We had all with us.
Yeah.
Where did we go?
Okay, so, real quick, they don't mind the echo, for the talk. Ahmed mentioned he doesn't even hear it anymore. So go ahead, he does want this to be more conversational. So go ahead and sit right here in front, making sure that he sees you, and then you could just look at the big screen.
No, no problem. Are you sure? Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Hi all. Welcome.
Hi.
So I need to start with a question, and that is, what do you know about Islam and Muslim religion? Like anything, like even if it's just a word. So anyone? Like what did you hear? Like the stereotyping?
I know about like the Book of Islam. I know very little. I know about Muhammad a little bit. I was raised Christian. So
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Also not a lot. Not a lot.
Okay.
If anything.
I do remember a little bit about Mecca and like reading about pilgrimages to Mecca.
I see. So I know that there's this propaganda and stereotyping about Muslims that I mentioned earlier, that we only want destruction, and like we feel that we are superior to other religions. But actually, this is wrong. Uh, Actually, Islam honors the other religions, especially Christianity and Judaism, and both of them are part of our beliefs as well. We believe in Jesus, and we believe in Moses, and everyone else that of the prophets. There's a mention of 25 prophets on our holy book, Quran. And actually, the beliefs of Islam religion is based on the beliefs of Christianity and Judaism, and this is something that not a lot of people tell you about. And there's even a version of the book of Christianity that mentions our Prophet Muhammad, that he's going to come, and also in Judaism, but they try to mask this information, and they're not spreading it around. But for me personally, I wanted to learn about Judaism and Christianity, but I didn't do much. I didn't read the holy books of them, but I did read some phrases, and a lot of them are in line with our religion, especially about the thing that I called earlier about giving charity and taking care of your neighbor and other communities, which is something, and this is one of the zakat thing that I mentioned earlier. It is one of the pillars of our religion, like it's the third pillar of our religion. You are not a true Muslim if you didn't give zakah and give to other people. And this is something I mentioned that I discussed with Isley, that people are feeling so angry at the rich people because like they're taking the money to themselves and that they are not giving to anyone else. But in Islam, you are even advised to give your money every year if it's still building up and you are getting revenues annually. So I don't know. Did you know about this in Islam? No. Okay. Um, so for me, you will see if you get the chance to hear more of my poetry. But I mentioned this on the poem True Colors. I did mention that in heavens, Allah will treat us right, given us a heaven so bright. Most of my poems, I talk about these kind of things, the faith that we have, and the things that Allah will reward us if we were patient and we accept the fate and the destiny that we are facing. And I am also trying to use art not to just talk about my religion, but also to connect the different communities that I advocate for and the different communities worldwide. So some of my poems, you will see that I mention Sudan and I mention Congo, and I mention I wrote a piece on the Women's Day, and I mentioned all the women of the world, even the white and brown and black women, on that poem, and I called out the stereotyping of how they are trying to say that. Some people say like the Women's Day are only for the white women, but this is not. This is how some people feel, and this is somehow true. But I tried on that piece to connect all of these different communities and call the bias and connect all of these. Um, Sorry, connect all of the people with the same background, that they are facing the same aggression. So my the poetry that I'm writing, it is I use it as a tool of solidarity and for advocacy as well. And I am not trying to just advocate for Gaza, but all different communities that are facing oppression and aggression. So yeah, do you have any question regarding Islam or anything to me?
Assalamu alaikum, Ahmed.
Walaikum salam.
I was on your comment about Judaism and Christianity. Obviously Islam, well, not obviously, but if you guys didn't know, Islam is an Abrahamic faith, which means, we all believe that we all, as in Christianity and Judaism and Islam, all believe about the sacrifice Abraham made. And if you guys want a really good book, one that I bought and haven't started yet, much like 100 books that I've done that with, is called The First and Final Commandment by Dr. Lawrence Brown, where he literally goes through, because as you guys know, Judaism came first, and the second revelation was Christianity, and then, alhamdulillah, the final revelation was Islam, with the, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Salam.
So yeah, if you guys wanted like a really good book, it's really heavy. It's like, I'm pretty sure it's like 500 to 800 pages, because obviously it's like about the three biggest religions, and it's like going A to Z. But the guy is also, he's very, venerated, and he, funnily enough, grew up Christian in America, converted to Judaism for a hot minute, and then now, subhanAllah, he's Muslim. So it's a little biased towards Islam. But I think, yeah, it's called The First and Final Commandment, and it's like a really, if anyone was like super interested, or really wanted, because I think it's like, yeah, if we're talking about initial biases, especially with the religions we grow up with, because most of us are from the big three, and especially in America, if you grow up here, America is a Christian nation. Christmas is super big here, and then if you're not Christian, then you're some random sect, or you're Jewish, and then but it really depends on your spaces. So I think that's why it's such an important thing to understand, because I think then you'll really, when you look at the foundations of things, you really begin to understand the effects, thousands of years later. And then you can really dispel a lot of racism. Like, there's still a lot of racism that, like, oh, what's happening in Gaza and in Palestine is only because Sunni and Shia. What's happening in Lebanon is only because Lebanon is what's happening is because Sunni and Shia. So, there's a lot of bullshit, especially in America, about that stuff. So I think if you guys, all of us, have a strong, solid foundation, then you're able to dispel that for yourself, for other people. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Anyone else want to add to that?
I was more curious about how the genocide has been impacting you personally. Like, are you okay? Like, is everything?
Thank you for asking, but honestly, I haven't been okay. Like, you can even see in my bio on my social media that I started using lately, that I say that I am trapped in Gaza, because this is how I feel. I have been away for 21 years from Gaza, and when I came back, I felt like I am an stranger, an outsider, and I don't have any friends. And I actually do have social anxiety and panic disorder whenever I deal with like new people. So it's never easy. And on the top of that, like, the war started, and then the daily life of surviving and like seeking basic necessities, it was really awful, because like you need to deal with people to get all of these, and not just to deal with them, but also to fight for the thing that you are trying to get. It was a lot, and I am still not okay, but I'm trying to be better. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Is your time up?
Yeah, that is the
Of
time
course.
up. Thank you so much, Ahmed. One more
Of
round.
course. Thank you all. Bye.
One more round. So yeah, this group goes out. Wait. Yeah, this group goes outside. And then please let them know to come inside.
So better this time.
Yeah, what was the next point? Oh, art, specifically creativity and art.
Yeah, I did talk about that as well.
Not
Maybe you didn't
as
finish.
not as much. I think maybe
Yeah,
like
that's the problem. I feel like 10 minutes is not enough. Like even with the first group, I was gonna ask about Islam, but then that person asked me, so I don't know.
well, I mean, so this is the thing. If questions come up right away, we'll ask first if there's any questions from the poems, because poems, that's a form of expression. That's art.
Okay,
And then from there you can go. Uh,
okay.
I don't know if you
And
guys
Hi
then
want to
everyone.
be.
I've let it that if you're talking, if you go a little over, I just mute the alarm and I let you finish your thoughts. Like if you go a little over, like
Okay,
the other stuff I can, the other activity they can figure it out.
okay.
Okay,
Hi
so this
everyone. How are you? And thank you for being here. I have a question for you. What do you know about Islam religion or like Muslims in general? Since I was blabbering a lot about this on the first intro that I did. Anyone? I didn't hear that. Sorry, I didn't catch it. Can you raise your voice a bit?
Sure. I know that there are 5 pillars to Islam.
Yes, yes, and that's amazing. True. And actually, the cat that I mentioned earlier is one of them, which is why it's so important to remind the people of it. Some people don't even know about this, but like charity and giving is an important thing in Islam. This is why it's one of the pillars. This is something that not a lot of people know, and when you tell the people about it, they will be surprised that it is even something that it is mandatory to do. But this is the thing about the tax money that people are paying, not to give to other people, but actually for the government to collect. Um, so this is the iron about this, because like zakat is actually being collected to be given to the poor and the needy, the injured, some travelers who are passing through your neighborhood or something, and even the ones who are working in the collection of this, since they are giving their time to collect it, they will be giving a percentage of it, but not a huge one obviously, but it's like to be compensated and also to purify their souls, so they won't steal from that money or they won't take some of it to themselves. So you are just Allah allow them, like our God allow them to take some of their money, so they can purify their souls and like compensate themselves of the time that they are offering. What other thing that you know about Islam, or like something that you heard about Islam and you think you want to confirm if it's true or not? Anyone?
Interest is haram.
The what?
Interest is haram.
like
Uh,
financially,
Financial interest.
yeah, interest is haram. Yeah, that's correct. And I have been hearing actually a lot about the people of the West that they are trying to stop the use of interest, because like it is corrupting actually the projects and what do they call, like the companies that they are trying to build. But yes, in Islam, interest is haram. So if you are going to have money from someone else, like lend money from someone else, like you won't be in debt, because like I know that in the West, when you have money, like taking a loan from the bank or something, they will have interest and it will grow exponentially every year, and then you will be in a lot of debt that you won't even be able to repay them. And this is actually the work of imperialism and capitalism. They are trying to restrain you with the things and the rules that they are building, which is for their own benefit and not for you. You think that you are getting a loan that and you are going to start your life and you are building your own life, but this is not the case. And these things, not a lot of people don't know about Islam, and they just only know about the propaganda and the stuff that they are telling about Islam, that we are encouraging the killing of innocent people. And like I mentioned earlier, like we did the collapsing of the two towers. So yeah. uh, okay, so about the art and the poetry, is there any lines that you felt connected to, or if there's anything that you uh, anything that was question that you want answers to about the poems that I recited, or like if you have any questions related to my art in general. Anyone?
I have a question, more like a comment. I feel like the part, I'm not sure which poem it was, but the part where you were talking about like the Met Gala and how much it's like,
Crocodile tears.
yeah, that one. It's how it's so reflective of the Hunger Games. Like for a while, I've been kind of making that connection in my own mind, but it's disgusting sometimes that people don't make that. They either do make the connection and they try to ignore it, or they just don't see it, and it's just like it's disgusting. It really is, and it's like you're gonna keep supporting these people when they obviously don't care about you. Like what are we doing?
Exactly, and this is exactly why I mentioned it, because when we were witnessing the destruction and being faced with this, and what I saw in the Met Gala, they were like having all of these kind of dresses that were inspired from nature or something. I can't remember, to be honest. But it was similar to the Hunger Games triangly that I watched some time ago, and people really like were absorbing this and being excited about it, and it was all over the news, and they weren't even talking about us. Like how come like they were, it's like they were living in a parallel world, and the things that happened to us, it was like from outside this world. And this is why exactly why I wrote those lines, because like I am using my art not to just remind the people of what's happening, but also to put the thoughts that some might have on paper, like the thing that you just said. You were trying to make the connection about it, but it was in your head, and you are trying to like. I'm so sorry for the word, like, but some people are trying to be in denial and they will not make this relation. But I try to make it and put it on paper so people will know that this is how we feel and this is how our feeling. And even in the on those lines of poem, I did mention how Gaza felt about what's happening in LA, and they were actually praising Allah and asking Allah to save the people from save the people there. And this is also part of our religion. Like we are not, we don't tolerate any hate speech, and we care about all of humanity and all human beings. And actually, we are not entitled to like go to war with anyone without any reason. Like there's no reason for us to go against anyone or like be aggressive towards anyone without any reason. So yeah, thank you for that comment. Anything else? Anyone have any questions regarding Islam or art or any comments would like to share with us?
I did have also a comment about that second poem because there was something that really stood up to me as well. I can't remember exactly what it was, but you were saying how, and kind of what you're talking about as well, that when people were the people that were suffering over here in LA, and especially talking about the people that were more well off, when they would cry or when they would beg for help, it was more validated than when people in Gaza were suffering, especially at the very beginning. I remember when it first started, I didn't know myself anything about the situation, but the moment that I started to see videos, to me it was clear this is wrong and there's no question about it. But what kind of I had to realize with time is that it's not enough for enough people to see what's going on. You have to now also convince them of your humanity, I guess. So that's kind of what really stood up to me from that, or made me think about from that part when you said that.
Yeah, yeah. That was exactly it, and I did say that their tears were truthful and ours deceitful, and what the world we live in, where selective empathy is a thing. And this is exactly how I was feeling, and it is also related to the white supremacy and people thinking they are entitled to be having all of those kind of things, like being helped and getting donations, and they are entitled to ask for help, but not us. Us, the brown people who are facing a genocide, and our houses got destroyed, and we are asking people to help us to rebuild. But for them, it was like deceitful, and it was like a form of degradation, and we are not allowed to do so. But also, where you mentioned something else, let me just gather my thoughts. Yeah, about the scenes of this and the footages, and how you said that, like, it is more humane for others and not to us. It is also something that people forget, that we are all humans as well, and this is exactly what I'm trying to build through my art and also the different projects that I'm working on. I am trying to show the world that we are similar to each other, like we weep, we laugh, we love, we get married, we have kids, we cry, um, and this is what makes us similar to you. We just want to live in peace and coexist with other communities, and we are just human beings. Why you are not seeing this? Why you are thinking that we are less than you, or we are not deserving of the same things that you have? This is why I'm working on, like, some films that I'm trying to represent this idea, or actually not this idea. Like, I'm trying to showcase everything that's happening to us, and it revolves about my life and my nephews and my nieces and my connection with them. Like, there's footages of this that I documented, that I'm trying to showcase to the world, to maybe some people will see that we are just human beings similar to them. So yeah, any more questions or comments regarding poetry or Islam?
Right now, that time is up for this station. But thank you. So I'm gonna get everyone back in class, and then we're gonna have like a class thing.
Okay.
Yeah, still with everyone though, but.
Okay, thank you all. Thank you.
Can someone grab the people outside, please? Oh, sorry. Let's share over there. Please. Okay.
It is well, you can't clap. Did you forget about the long?
All right. So, based off the gallery walk, who wants to share their thoughts, what they got out of it? You spoke with 3 different individuals. They each shared what they wanted to share. What was that like? How'd you feel? What'd you think? What you think, Bang Funk? Uh-oh, we know we don't like this. All right.
Okay, hello, I'm Ashley. My whole thing that I kind of got from this was that media definitely works hard to portray a certain image of certain people. And there's definitely, like, they have a purpose for doing that. It's definitely a negative purpose, and I think it helps to hear, like, directly from the source or from the people it's directly affecting, the actual stories that are going on, and like, just trying to be able to decipher what is actually worthwhile to pay attention to and what is having a negative impact on our perceptions of others. And I think it's cool that people were able to share their stories today. I think it takes a lot to be able to do that.
Thank you, Ashley. Taha?
I just want to shout out the 3 people that talked. I think it's very hard to do, and it takes a lot of confidence. And what I learned, you can always learn more, and you really should be reading more. Unfortunately, we don't read a lot. Well, I'm speaking for myself. Maybe I'm projecting a little. But yeah, I think you should really, even in Islam, the first thing they said, not thing, but in the Quran, it's iqra, which means read. And it's repeated 3 times, and usually in the Quran, if it's repeated, it's very important. Or if it's a word in Quran, it's very important. So, repeating it 3 times means it's like, a big thing to take home. So yeah.
Anyone else? Normally I only ask for at least 2. Oh, Kayla.
Just for right now, especially going off of what you were saying, Taha. I'm just thinking of a lot about like individuals and our choices that we make and the opportunities that we have to make choices. Like the choice to read, the choice to look further than what we were taught, the choice to think critically about something you may believe is just a truth instead of something that was taught to you, told to you, crammed in you. Yeah, I think a lot about choices.
Anyone else? Okay, so now, they said the echo doesn't bother them. So I just feel like as a class, we should say thank you to Ahmed for being here. Thank you. Is-
Thank you everyone, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to connect with you all and share my poetry and my story. And I hope you forgive me if I was harsh in some lines or like some basic information that I shared. I want to mention that I am self-taught in English, so sometimes I forget some words and I can't make up my mind sometimes. So I am sorry if I made any mistakes. I am also not that religious, although that I spoke about Islam religion, but these things that are knowledge to us. But I believe Taha mentioned a book that is about Islam, and it discussed these topics that I mentioned more thoroughly. So he can mention the name of the book to you, to all of you again, and maybe you can learn about this, and maybe I can learn something new as well when I read that. So yeah, thank you everyone for attending and allowing me to be part of your class today.
Yep, and you're invited to come again.
Inshallah, thank you.